several years back. Brett, we reconnected, kind of the collision density thing over coffee one time. He's telling me what they were doing with Convergent. Very interesting stuff, which Dr. Locke will share with you today. But I'll just read through this bio real quick so you can get a feel for Jared. So he's a licensed industrial organizational psychologist, has a solid 25-year career working as a leader in 4 organizations that have all achieved sustained and long-term double-digit growth year over year. He's worked with Fortune 200 telecom companies, consulting firms, test publisher. He's grown a few companies, one of which was 5 employees to 40, from $1 million to $15 million. He's a psychologist by training, but businessman first. He ingrains himself in the organization's business mission and operating philosophy. Then he applies his psychological people understanding in business terms, helping organizations easily use the complex world of psychology to their advantage. So he's worked with companies like Adidas, Zenith, Insurance, Bank of America, Sprint, on down the list. So without further ado, let's all welcome Dr. Jared Locke.
Can I undo this? Is it going to hurt something? No, you're well. Sorry about that, Elliot. All right. We were dealing with a little technology there for a second, and so sorry about that. Thank you all for coming. I appreciate it very much. And I also wanted to bring forth my partner, Brett Gibson, just so that you know. He's one of the 3 of us that make up Convergent, and we're pretty excited about what we're trying to do and where we're trying to go here. I was thinking, oh, we're down at ThinkBig, so that's great. So I put my jeans on. I think me and Mark and Blake are the only 3 with jeans. So you're going to dig me on my jeans. That's okay. Thanks. I appreciate it. But I do work downtown, and I'm kind of not done with summer yet, if you will. So thank you very much for coming. I didn't know exactly what to talk about or where to go or what to do with this. So I did talk to some people in the audience. Sounds like there's some recruiters from the customer contact world. Sounds like there's people running contact centers as well. But it also sounds like there's people from a training and development side of things, onboarding type of things, and those aspects, okay? What I've really spent my life doing, because if most of you know any psychologists, they have absolutely nothing to say about anything that really matters in the world. Okay, so if you talk to a psychologist, they'll say things like, well, leaders are tall. There's more boy leaders than girl leaders, and those things make absolutely no sense, and they don't matter. And so what I've really tried to do through my career is be a huge research nerd. Okay, I care about data. I gather data all the time. And then what I want to do with those data is then turn around and make them very useful for the client and the customer. And I remember I was in psychology graduate school, and I had the chance to get out as fast as possible. And school wasn't a big thing for me. And so I took MBA courses in the summer. So it was me and 29 MBA students. And I'm like, okay, these guys did not have the same undergrad that I had. They did not learn the same things I learned. And by the way, are a bunch of psychologists running the world or a bunch of business people running the world? Maybe I ought to learn their language. So hopefully today what I can do is present to you a business case, if you will. And what I wanted to try to do was present a case that would help you understand and drive customer contact center performance, okay? So from a standpoint of that, so why would you maybe listen to me? Over the years, I've done a lot of different work in customer contact centers. I was trying to think about it all as I came in today. At one point in time, every single customer contact representative from AT&T went through a pre-employment assessment process that I put together. That was nationwide. There's about 170,000 applicants a year that rolled through a process that I put together, and we were able to link this to job performance, to onboarding, to training and development programs, etc. Did the same thing or something similar with what used to be First Union Bank. They became Wachovia through acquisition and merger, and so all the way from their financial services reps who are very technical, kind of on the phone, a lot of computer, a lot of financial management, if you will, to their customer contact people if you lost your password and things of that nature. Put together selection systems like that for about 70,000 people. Put together the leadership experience or the customer service experience for Bank of America, et cetera, on down the line. So I've dealt with a lot of organizations. I've got a lot of data from the customer contact world, probably the biggest database from a customer contact perspective in the world right now. And what we've tried to do, and what my partners at Convergent have tried to do, is basically converge 3 different worlds based on that, because we're all kind of nerdy geeks. We all really kind of care about, but care about the business side of things and trying to make it work. And so what we've done is, my partner, Brett, is from the IT world, understands lean, project management, Six Sigma, Agile, all the different sides of what I'd call process improvement in the organization. Our third partner, who wasn't here today, Nathan Lagergren, is an MBA that's run analytics for organizations for multiple years, okay? And then me, I'm a psychologist, because what do we all know? People muck up the best plans ever, right? We have a great plan, we know we're going to do it, and then you put the people in it and they muck it up every single time, okay? And so let's put a people perspective on top of this. Let's figure out what's going to happen when we do this. And through the databases I've collected and the things I've pulled together, we've been able to pull those together and really understand if we're going to take our organization from doing this. And really, culture, that's kind of what you're trying to do, right? There's a bunch of people, maybe the culture kind of waves like this and you want it to be this. Or maybe your analytics are low right here and you want them to be over here. Maybe your satisfaction or scorecard numbers are here, you want them to be here. Really, it's all about change, but it's all about performance in some way, shape, or form. And what we'd love to do is help organizations understand when you try to do that change, here's what's going to happen. Here's the people that are going to love it. Here's the people that are going to muck it up, and here's why. And give you an honest fighting chance at improving this thing and turning it into what you want it to be versus what the employees are making it, if you will. And so that's really what Convergent is doing, is bringing together analytics, bringing together from that analytics a real understanding of business direction, putting psychology on top of that to help predict what's going to happen, and then putting together business metrics and business measurement to make sure that it's happening the way that we want it to do. So from that standpoint, I basically took the discussion and I translated it and said, okay, look, if I was in the customer contact world and I was going to hear my goofy self for a little bit of time, what would I want to hear? And I thought, okay, well, we're all running against the numbers, if you will, and they could be a number with respect to attrition, they could be a number with respect to customer sat, they could be a number with respect to are we making our hires right, are we doing the right thing, it could be a number with respect to kind of engagement, employee engagement, but we're all trying to move that number forward, aren't we? And we're all trying to make that work better. So my thought was why don't I lay out 5 data-driven, so I'm not just making this stuff up, but why don't I lay out 5 kind of principles of things that you can go home with tonight and you can work with, okay? Now, I run an organization. One of the beautiful things about what we've done is, anyone ever heard of Tesla? Yeah? Okay, so their first car was a made-up mashup of a bunch of other people's cars, right? They took this company's body, this company's wheels, this company's doors, they mashed it all together, right? And it worked, kinda, and it broke a little, and things like that. Well, my partners and I, since no one in the world has ever put an IT guy, an IO psychologist, an MBA in a room for longer than 30 minutes, because they usually probably strangle each other, we started going out and doing projects with companies. And we started to learn what are the connectivities between those things. What are the things we can pull together? Okay, and so we did that for about a year or so, which is what I call the validate model. So just like Tesla, we mash stuff together, right? The end result is that now, because then it's great to have an IT guy on your side, because now we've actually created a software to merge those things into a seamless process. Okay, so without sitting up here saying, please buy my stuff or anything like that, what I'm really here to do is to help you understand, look, change is hard. right? Culture and getting it right or making it the one you want is a hard gig, right? And we're here to maybe think, are there 4 or 5 things I can do for myself and leave here today and try to do those things? Do I think it could be better and more helpful if you were doing more, or, you know, integrating other software or programs or things like that? Absolutely. But do I want you to leave here today to think, oh, there's 2 or 3 things I could maybe do different now that I wasn't doing before, and I can go back to my office and use that as a strategy. So is that, everyone kind of sign up for that? Is there something different you want, or does that work? Yeah? Okay. Good. The data, and I'm pretty straightforward if you haven't figured out yet. I also have an opinion, but it's usually, I'm willing to share it, and it's usually based on data and facts. And for all the years, and it's been, well, way too many, but more than a score of doing work with customer contact, 4 or 5 immutable truths have kind of come out. Okay, the first one is about 70% of all customer contact centers are not meeting the expectations that they have for themselves. Okay, now you can sugarcoat it, or you can play data, you can move your stuff around or anything like that, but basically about 70% of us aren't quite living up to the expectation that we have in front of us. Okay, attrition's too high, customer sat's too low, scorecard's not quite right, something's going on, technology's not working the way we want to, call volume's too long, you know, whatever, name the number. There's something that's not quite going the way that you want it to. And is that not right? I mean, you can kick me out if you want now, but I mean, and in Kansas City we have a labor shortage right now, right? I mean, it's tough to find people, and how do we pay them at this point in time? Are we paying them at the right spot? I mean, 9 1/4 used to be that number, right? You could play 9 1/4 all day long, and you just can't do that anymore. And so there's a lot of stuff that's going on, and it's not quite in the right spot, and that's what's in front of people at this point. The second piece is that organizational culture actually explains about 45% of this. So if you try to figure out what's the mucky stuff, what's happening, culture is about 45% of that. So if you touch that like a flip of the coin, you're getting half the story at least. And I think that's why a lot of you came here today and wanted to listen and see what's going on and what we're talking about. The third thing is that the organizations are notoriously bad at understanding their cultures. Okay, which culture are we talking about? Is it, you know, when I worked with Adidas, which, you know, we in America call Adidas, the question became, which, you know, and they're an international organization, but they're housed in Germany. The question becomes, which culture are we talking about? Are we talking about, you know, EU versus United States culture? Are we talking about German versus French culture? Are we talking about, you know, one of the five, Hamburg versus Nuremberg culture? Are we talking about Adidas versus Puma culture? We're talking about this department versus that. Which culture are you talking about? And the problem with culture is everyone wants to give it a simple easy button. And it's really not that easy, because I just gave you 7 layers of culture, right? Some of us are from Kansas, a lot of us are from Kansas City, right? Or somewhere around here, and there's a culture about that versus St. Louis, right? Anyone want to laugh with me about it? I mean, yeah, we get it, right? So they're not the same beasts, okay? You get that already, but that doesn't mean that a Sprint employee or a Commerce Bank employee couldn't work in St. Louis or Kansas City, or for a different boss, okay? And so now we've got 6 or 7 impacts on that culture. And the fact is, if you're really, really, really good at it, you spend a ton of time on it, you'll maybe know 40%. And that kind of sucks, right? Because it's half the gig, and now from that you take 40%, you're down at around 16% effectiveness if you even try to do something. So I'm not saying that the things you haven't been doing haven't been helpful. The statistics are against you. Does that all make sense, kind of? Yeah? And then the question for me then, in a lot of scenarios, becomes, what's the high quality performance culture for this organization? Okay, what does it do, and how do we maximize that today? That's kind of where that's the immutable truths I've heard and the things I know as I've dealt with organizations over the year, and what happens. Does anyone have anything they want to add to this? Is that about right? No? Okay. Why is this? What are the performance issues? So when we go in and actually diagnose and figure out what's going on, what is going on? First piece is the CEO or senior team is not clear in terms of direction or style. I think my friend back here just said he's back at Sprint. How many cultures have you had at Sprint? And now with with the new CEO, it's Ezra and this and that. I mean,
19 years too. So you've seen a lot.
Yeah, I was there in '94, so I you know, back in the old days with the Red Diamond, and it was a different place then even. So, so if they're not clear or they haven't gotten clear to you, how are you supposed to be clear with respect to where you're going and what you're doing? All right, so that's both in direction and that's in style. How many organizations say our employees are our most important asset, and we're the lowest payers in the community? All right, so we put that goofy crap up on the wall. We say it's true. And our CEO comes out every once in a while, Durga, this is true, and isn't it nice, and isn't this what we do? And it's just not true, okay? So it's about style and things of that nature. A lot of times our plans are way too sophisticated in the desire of knowing it all. And next month you're going to hear about the Internet of Things, and Blake just talked about the Internet of Things and the connectivity and all that stuff. Yes, it is all kind of connected, and yes, it does all matter, but at the end of the day, you got calls coming in, they're logging through the router and going to people. What you going to do? What's going to come out of their mouths? Okay, so yes, we are all interconnected in a lot of big ways, and yes, that's kind of cool to think about. Does it impact you on a daily basis? Not always, okay? And so our plans become too sophisticated, and to solve this problem, I'm going to do 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, but 4's not quite fixed, so I got to do A, B, C, D. Ah, but D's not quite right, so I got to do dot 1, dot 2, dot 3. Ah, but dot 4 is got, and now all of a sudden we turn mountains out of molehills, right? Or is that the right way? Yeah, I think that's the right way to say it. So there you go. Processes don't lead to company cycles. Oftentimes the things we're trying to do is like a year-long process when you're quarterly, or you're monthly, or you're weekly. And so we roll out this long-term engagement to change the culture, and the thing changes, right? I mean, we're all talking about now, and like some friends of mine at Hallmark Cards just said, we got a real change going on here. And I'm like, when was the last time it wasn't changing? Change is part of the world. It's happening whether you want it to or not. You can't freeze the world anymore and expect them to wait for 3 or 4 months for your process to go through before you move it forward. Leaders can lack characteristics and power, both positional. There's a lot of times we'll say, we've got a great thing going, and let's give it to our project manager. Hey guys, I'm here. Would you do it, please? Yeah, please. And so positionally, they're not in the spot to truly endorse this and make it happen. And sometimes their personalities just aren't right. I mean, if you want to be a project manager, it's not always about being nice. Sometimes you got to be a bad guy, right? And sometimes you can't always do the things you need to do. And then finally, poor outcome measures underrepresent impact and don't provide motivation. So we just don't measure things very well, right? And or we're measuring the wrong things and doing that. So what I'm gonna propose to you today is to talk about 5 things, all right? And this isn't the whole LinkedIn, the 5 steps, 5 leadership lessons learned from Genghis Khan or whatever it is, I mean, or whatever those lists are that just go out there. But what this is a procedural kind of way to think about your organization, think about what's happening in that organization, and think about what you're trying to do, okay? And I think that if you follow these 5 things and do something, okay? It doesn't have to be perfect. I'm very much a proponent of guerrilla implementation. Try something, see what happens. Try some more, see what happens. But always try it one direction. Okay, don't switch directions tomorrow and that way, but figure out what direction are we kind of going, and do something for that. And figure out what that is going to be and what it's going to look like. And so these are the 5 steps I'm going to go through. I'm not going to go through this slide because it's going to be on the rest of the pages, but these are the things that I think need to happen in order for success to happen. And right now I'm just going to thank Anna here because she's supposed to be recording me. I don't stand still very well, so thanks for staying on your toes. I appreciate it. Executive direction and clarity, okay? I am what you'd call a culture neutral organization. We are culture neutral. Okay. There's a lot of different cultures out there. A lot of them can be successful. A construction company in Omaha, Nebraska, and the owners, it's a 4th generation construction, family-owned construction business. I went in there to talk to them about their organization, and they said, we want our project managers to be tough as nails. We want them to be mean SOBs. We want them to not have any hobbies, probably on their 3rd or 4th divorce. And if they are doing anything on the weekends, they're sitting in their garage tinkering. And when that new project comes up, we want them fighting between each other to figure out what to do. okay? And they stopped right there and they said, now's the time when you tell me that we should be kinder, gentler, you know, like the old George Bush thing, the first one, not the second one. And I said, no. I said, you know, your culture is your culture. I go, I wouldn't work here because I don't work for mean SOBs or people like that. But there are people out there that want that. They want to shut their mouths and be told what to do. And we can find those people that want that culture. Okay? So I'm the first person to tell you I am culture neutral, but you got to have one. It's got to be based on whether it's 1 or 2 or 3 or 12 or whatever. It's got to be easy enough to understand, and it's got to be easy enough to get to. Because you can, once you have, because with a culture, you have a direction. With a direction, all the rest of us can follow that way. If we say, well, our bosses say our employees are our most important asset, no, they're not. Okay, now we can't go in one direction. We're vacillating, and that sucks, and it takes energy. So I don't care what your culture is, just get one. And get your executives to deal with that. Often what we do is we actually assess. I'm a psychologist, I believe in data, I use assessments on people. And we'll assess executives, put their values that they tell us about up against the values on the wall. And that's a great way for us to do it. You may not have that ability, or you may like your job. That's why I don't work for anybody, obviously. We're jeans to presentations, but you may like your job a little more than that, but you got to find out what it is and where it is. And I don't care if your executives know what it is, and if you're going to go with the informal one and go with it, but you're going to rest it on 2 or 3 things, I'm fine with that as well. But find out what it truly is. And if you're the lowest payer and the hardest workers, be honest. Be brutally honest. I'd love to get it from the CEO. I've answered 4 questions here, given you 4 questions, and ask yourself that. But that's just the first step. The second step is for you to say, how does my group impact that? What does my group do to do that? And that's where, if you're not a business person, you need to become a business person in some way, shape, or form. But what is our company trying to solve, do, or compete against? Okay, how do we differentiate from the competition? What are our X factors? What differentiates Sprint from AT&T, from Verizon, from T-Mobile? You know, all that kind of stuff. What does success look like to the owner's stockholders? When we do what things does our stock jump, and when we do other things, when does it go down? Okay, that's a pretty simple kind of idea to understand. But you got to get there. You have to you are responsible. So while you're going to sit there and say, my CEO is all over the board, that's not an excuse, okay? I'm not going to give you that excuse, because you can create a pocket of success. If you can lean on one thing that's immutably true about that supervisor, that executive, or that person running your world, and at least say, we're going to stand against that thing, now it's on you. Okay, and you have to be the one to make the connection. You can't expect that executive to bring it down to your customer contact people's level. What we do at that very point is we actually measure it. Okay, we measure it 2 different ways. So it's hard to see, but just think these are 5 big competencies or whatever: teamwork, customer satisfaction, speed to call, whatever. Some of them can be objective, some of them can be competency based. We actually measure those things. And we do it 2 ways. 1, we ask the organization, how are we doing on this? And 2, we will actually assess the people in the organization and say, because we've got all this research for years and years and years, we are able to say, here's how your organization's, your baseline performance. Here's what they're really good at and what they're not. Okay, so if we say we're a company that cares about our employees, and then we're going to actually stand behind that, and we're all mean SOBs, your score will be a little lower. You say, we're all nice and we love to get along, and there's a get along variable, that'll be really high, okay, because it's true. Right, so this is kind of the truth mirror to the organization. It's what we call a baseline. I want to set a baseline so they know what they're working against. Here's the natural things that happen, right? How many of you are right-handed? Raise your right hand. How many of you are left-handed? About 10%? Yeah, 2 or 3 people. Brian Kitahara, when's the last time you picked up a pen with your right hand and just started writing? Only 10 minutes later say, oh, I'm left-handed, what am I doing? 0. Yeah, about 0, okay? We do things naturally. We have natural tendencies that we worry about, and we do those things on a natural basis, and that's what we're measuring right here. What's your group's natural core tendency? Helps you understand what you're going to work against. 2, you have to translate this against expectations. And this is a translation model, okay? And this is not something you've probably seen before, but you do have to do the translation. Your employees can't do it for you. Your supervisors won't do it for you. That's on you again, okay? And it's called being a manager, okay? Or having employees or having expectations on me. It's just part of your job, okay? And so what does my team do? How does my team impact this direction? All right? What do we need from our employees? Okay, and this is where I start thinking about what do I need from my employees? How do I, if we need people to run sales, say all of a sudden our customer contact sales are dropping and we need to pick up sales or something like, or our customer sat numbers are wrong, we need to be nicer, or this is happening, we need to go here. What characteristics do you need from your employees? Maybe you need them to be more attentive to details. Maybe you need them to be more aggressive. Maybe you need them to be this, that, or the other, right? Can you think about the problem you have right now and one or two of those and what characteristics you need from your employees that maybe you don't have? Problem is, a lot of people go to customer service or customer contact because they're nice. Try and get those to collect. Anyone run a collection group? Okay, try to get the nice ones to collect. It's hard because they want to be nice and it gets in their way. And so for us, that's pretty fun. Cool. All right, we think of people in terms of what we call a whole person, right? And there's their technical fit and experience, the things they know and do and what they've been to. There's culture, motivations. Okay, we think of this as whole person because this is what's in your heart. What do you care about on a day-to-day basis? When you wake up in the morning and go to work, what are you motivated by? Some people it's money, some people it's friendships, some people it's organization, some people it's security, job security. It differs for different people. What's yours? Oh, did we go past it? Sorry. Why didn't you tell me? Jeez.
I was just going.
All right. Then we have the personality, the body piece, okay, and that's the what's the person do on a day-to-day basis, and there's a positive side of that, and there's a million assessments out there that measure this positive stuff, like you've probably heard of MBTIs or DISCs or Hogan's or Profiles XTs or something like that, and they're all measuring this stuff right here, which is the positive stuff of what people do, but there's also some negative stuff people do, especially under stress and pressure. You ever seen the person that you interviewed? They were a really nice person, and like 6 months later, they're a mean person. Yeah, that stuff, that's this. And most assessments out there in the world don't get at this. In fact, there's only 2 or 3 of them, and they're probably not the ones you've ever heard of, okay? We have an active measure of that, and we look at that. So what do I want out of life? That's this blue thing. What am I doing to help me get it? What am I doing to screw it up? And how am I solving problems and making decisions along the way? So we have what's in your heart, what's in your body, what's in your head. Whole person assessment process. You can do this on your own. You can think of, what do I need in my people's hearts? If it's collections, I need a drive for money in a lot of ways. If it's customer sat, I need a drive for niceness. If it's accounting or fiduciary in some way, I need a drive for structure and stability and control and things like that. So what do we need? What's going to help us and what will hurt us the most? Think of your worst employee, grab 3 characteristics. Think of your best employee, grab 3 characteristics, you're done. Okay? Go through this list and how do we need them to solve problems? Is it fast? Is it after they analyze data? How quickly do we run them to the boss versus keep them on the phone? Those are all differences in your organization, differences culturally that you have to think about. Work on that and think about that piece. Again, we just go in and collect data on people. We think instead of interviewing people or doing this, that, and the other, why not get them to spend 30 minutes and then we have a database of the whole organization. We can start figuring those things out. Third thing is the prediction of the likely future, okay? I want you to do one thing for me right now. I want you to think about a change you need to make in your organization. Something you need to do. You need to raise expectations, you need to gather more money, you need to get more collection, whatever it is. Think about one thing that you need to happen in your organization. Does everyone have it? Yeah? Okay. Think about the person who's going to screw it up the most. How quickly did they come to mind? She started smiling. It came pretty quick for her. Did it come pretty quick for most of you? Right? Who's the one that's going to hate what we need to do first? You know that person, right? Who's the one that's going to like it the most? You know that person, right? Okay, those edges are easy, and the problem is people are the most dangerous, consequential forces on earth. We will muck up versus everything, virtually everything. Sorry about that. And you need to understand your team. Pull them apart and put them into thirds. Okay? For us, what we do a lot of is we will plot them, and I'll show you this in a little bit, but this is one more fact that I will tell you. anytime you're going to change things in your organization, anytime you're going to, we need more of this, or we need less of this, or we didn't ever do this and now we're going to, 30% of your people are going to love it. 30% of your people are going to hate it. 30% of your people are going to be somewhere in the middle. They're towed, you know, they toe the line. Maybe, and they worry about that. Figure those 30s out. See how easy it was to figure out the top and bottom, right? The others are the ones in the middle. All right? And this is going to happen. I've been doing culture change for, you know, a couple decades. It's always going to happen. It always happens this way. The data will naturally come out this way. So why not use it to your advantage? Why do you have to implement everybody at the exact same time? Why do you have to decide that everybody in the organization does that? Anyone know the difference between a good kid and a bad kid? Good kids are the ones bosses are nice to. Bad kids are the ones that are off on the side. Why not use that to your advantage? Why don't you roll out a 2 to 3 step implementation process? I'm going to take 10 of my 30 customer contacts and we're going to roll with this new program. Now, your job, you 10, now that you know it for 3 days, is to go to this next 10, which is that middle group, and show them that the change isn't this big. Because this is the problem with change. People always see it like this. What you want those people to do is make it look like this. And they're the best people to do it. Look, our job is this way, but if you do this and this, it's not really that much different than what we were already doing. And you use that group that wanted to do it to teach that middle group. Now, instead of everyone wanting to be who we were, you've got 60% of your population wanting to be who we are. Now we can all look at that other 30%. What you gonna do? You're gonna keep towing that old line, or are you gonna come back with us? You're gonna do that. Use what you just did, okay? We do it a lot more sophisticated, there's more data, but you can hack through some of this if you spend the time and energy to figure out who the right people are, who the other people are, and who they are in the middle, and then plan your stuff that way. For us, because we've got a data, so my database, it has 500,000 people in it, and we not only have assessment data of the whole person, we have job performance data on them as well. Virtually every single competency known to man do we have assessment, whether it's supervisor, subordinate, peer evaluations, numbers, customer contacts, forms, things like that. We have all these data on people, so we have all these variables that we can put people up against. Like for instance, this one's customer focus versus stress reactions. So we need to improve customer service, and that's a huge change, right? So one thing, we need people that want to be nice. 2, we need people that don't freak out when we make change. This is my group I want to start with. This is not my group. This is definitely not my group I want to start with, right? Okay? You can do this in your head. And we basically roll through competency after competency, and we give our clients the ability to say, these are the 2 competencies that matter most. How will my teams fare? How will my individuals fare? What will that look like? So we can drill down to the individual level and let you know, okay, here's the person that you need to address. Here's the one person. So what we're doing is energy efficiency at this point in time. We're helping you, instead of the whole blanket train them all and blanket talk to them all and sit in a room and say, we all need to be a little better at customer service because you're afraid to tell Mark that he needs to be better at customer service, right? And then everyone in the room's like, gosh, I'm going to really try harder. And Mark's like, they must be talking to someone else. So turn it around to your favor. Think about where you want to take this thing. Okay, I'll stop talking here in a bit. Next thing we do is quick feedback loops, okay? We're deciding exactly where things are going because we've already said that. So as a manager, one of the best things you can start doing day 1, today, tomorrow, is this line right here. If our execs want to go here versus there, or there, or there, in the past you were rewarded for A, B, and C. Now you're going to be rewarded for A, E, and F. You see that? A stayed the same. B and C is not the thing we're worried about. E and F is what we need right now. And you as managers have a fundamental ability, and I think obligation, to be that clear. Yes, we want you to be customer focused, but you have to concentrate on call time. You have to find a way to be faster at what you're doing and get to the spot where you need to get to. Has anyone ever said something like that, right? Maybe? Something of that nature. Emphasize CEO speak. let them ride, give them a couple weeks. With us, then we just go back and measure. Yeah, we go back and measure. So what you see here is, again, the big red thing is the natural tendency. And then each month we're measuring, or each other week, or every bi-week we're measuring. We do this with quick surveys, 5-second surveys. You go out to the employees, how are we doing on X, Y, Z? 5 questions maybe they go through and they get done and they move forward from there. They're out of it. And how do we do? How are we doing? And you can see where they're regressing, where they're progressing, what's happening, and how that's working, and what's going on from there. And that's quick feedback loops. And so one of the things we care about a lot is backsliding. Because remember, Mark, remember that 30% that was like, yeah, they're talking about other people, that 30%, the bottom third? They'll kind of go along for a while. So they're looking around and say, 60% of these people are good kids, and I'm the bad kid now. Ooh, maybe I'll be a good kid for a while. And they'll try for a while, but they will backslide. Because in their heart, they want to do this, and you want them to do that. And it's tough to go where your heart doesn't want to go. First girlfriend, first boyfriend you had to break up with, right? It's a boyfriend, oh, you know, that kind of stuff. First job you had to leave, first place that you had to go away from. It's hard to move, okay? People will go back to what they want to go back to, and they will backslide. And that's where we do a lot of feedback, which is instead of the long, everyone heard about Amazon and those guys doing away with performance appraisals. I've consulted to them on that, okay? And basically the idea is that instead of doing long performance cycles and things like that, 5 to 10 minutes once every other week or something like that. Hey, here's two, you know, we're doing this new thing. CEO said this. Now we're doing A, E, and F instead of A, B, and C. Next week I need you to concentrate a lot more on B than you are on D, and I need you to start doing E and not do C anymore. Boom, you walk away, you're done. And what I also do is I usually say, and send me an email that says you just and recap this conversation. Because now it's their responsibility to write back to you and say, here's what I will do in the next month, and here's what I won't do the next month. You've got your performance appraisal right there in 5 minutes. Okay? But it's 2x2s. It's consistently back. What do you do to your dog? You know, it's no different than trying to teach your dog how to go, you know, go pee outside or whatever. You know, you get them closer to the door and you get them out. Then after a couple weeks, they may drop one in the front room, and you got to remind them and get them back out there again. It's the same darn thing, guys. They're going to backslide and go the other way, and you need to move them forward. Nope, stop. Go that way. Yeah, none of that anymore. Do that. That's the good thing. That's the bad thing, and continue to move that. And so, and the one thing I will tell you is if you're not good at giving feedback, you are not a good feedback giver, you don't like to give negative feedback, I do what's called a third person in the room, okay? And so it goes something like this. It goes, Mark, you remember our CEO said we're going this way, not that way, right?
No, I don't.
No, yeah, well, we are. Yeah, Mark, last week we talked and I said I needed A, B, and C and not D, E, and F. And I just saw you doing D, E, and F. How does that align with what we talked about? See what I just did? I just asked Mark a question. Do I have to give Mark any feedback? I'm not going to give Mark anything. Mark's on the hook now. Mark owes me feedback because I said, we both agreed that this is where we're going, and you just did this. Help me understand. Help me figure out what it is that you want me to do. Help me understand how that's what we discussed. If you're not good at feedback, you need to learn how to ask questions. You know, what are you supposed to say? Well, I ignored you. Yeah, I got that. Don't do it anymore. This was more fun. Yeah, that's not what we do anymore. Okay? And that's, in a lot of ways, determining what we're doing with the laggards. Okay? A lot of you have hope. I hope you still do. I'm tainted and old, and I don't really believe it. People, their heart doesn't change, but if you want to change a person's heart and truly get them moving in another direction, knock yourselves out. Okay? I'm a little tainted at this point, and I prefer to just try and get the people who want to move along with us do, and people who don't, help them figure out what it is they want to do next if it's not that. Okay? And so for us, in a lot of ways, with our software, we actually have managers or you know, HR or OD people say, here's what we're going to do to address this low score this month. We're going to do blue, blue, blue. Now I have point of training. The next month, the next line comes out. You see if it's moved or not. Now you know personally whether that is effective in your department anymore, right? If we need to move this line, I tried 3 things. The first 2 months I tried A, it didn't work. Second month I tried B, it didn't work. Third month I tried C and it finally started working. Next time you don't do A or B anymore. You have your notes, you know what exactly you did, you've got a history of what's going on through this, and you're able to say, I'm going to use my time more effectively by just doing the stuff that works for them versus not. How many people, some of you like reading books, right? And like self-help or that kind of stuff. 40% of your employees hate it. So here's a book that changed my life. They're using it as a doorstop. Okay? So just because you like to learn that way doesn't mean they like to learn that way. All right? But we're all reading the Toyota Way today, all right? Because it's a great book. Okay? People use it as a doorstop. They don't want to do it. Some people don't. 30, 30, 30. Keep on remembering that, okay? So I am done. I'm leaving enough time. I have these kind of conclusions up here. But what I hope you got today, a couple of easy ways to go back, an understanding that this is difficult. What I wanted to really do was put the responsibility of performance back on your shoulders. It's not, oh, our CEO keeps changing vision, or oh, this isn't good, or oh, this isn't what I'm looking for. What I'm really hoping is that what each of you took away from here is a personal responsibility to take control of this, and I hopefully have given you a few kind of easy tools to get there, and an understanding of how big a project or whatever you want to call it this can be. Because it's daily, all right? Performance is an ongoing concern. It's daily, all right? It's always. There's always people, when you're pushing this way, there's always people pushing energy elsewhere. And you gotta rein it in. That's about all I've got to say. Yes?
So if we're doing this, if we don't have the benefit of an excellent consultant like you, and we're doing some self-help here, I guess, you know, I'm just thinking about the ways I would intuit where our senior leadership team wants to go, because we do have layers. We have what our CEO is saying, then what our president of the business unit is saying, and then a vice president, all of that. You know, so you might lose a little bit in the translation.
You're going to lose a lot. You're going to lose like 80%, but yeah.
Yeah, some of it's pretty clear. If we sit on the earnings call, we kind of get an idea. And I always figure it's always about following the money. I don't know. I always go back there. But
yeah.
You know, the cultural part maybe is a little harder, because I think our executives, you know, how do I say, it's like a bless their heart, they mean well, you know, because they've spent, I don't know, they've spent like 6 months working on like the right 6 words to be our, you know, whatever our values are. But
they got them from this book and this company's wall and this thing, and yeah.
So I like the follow the money part's pretty straightforward, but you know, figuring out the cultural, like what cultural fit or what kind of, I don't know, people that are looking for is a little harder.
That's a great question, Lauren. The point is you know, most companies are for profit, right? So follow money is a universal, and as long as you can figure out how to get money going, that's fair. The second piece can be on you. Okay, if it's too vague or too dispersed or too confusing, you can say, look, I don't know about the rest of this place, but I know we're trying to make money here, and if we're trying to do that, I've come up with the idea that these are the 3 things that matter. And that's okay. That's not a problem, because at least your little group, for that little bit of time, has direction. And they know where to go. So no, you take it up as much as you can. You hope that it starts there. If your employees don't have much engagement with them, you make it up. Well, I was talking to Fred the other day, and he said blah, 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 and therefore we should do this. I don't care, but get something out there that they can at least hang on to. Good question.
Kind of with that situation, have you ever come across situations where you have senior leaders, CEOs, whatever, they're setting the vision, the direction of the company, and in a way, I'm in a situation where they're completely changing the business model and how they make money. They've set that, but yet they're the hardest ones to change when it comes to behavior or next steps or taking that change down the road.
You know, Roberta, is that right? Yeah. And so the question is what if we've changed the way we make money, but our executives aren't following the new way of doing things? They're doing things the same old way. And that's a great question, because a lot of times that they are the hardest group to kind of change over. Business questions work well with them as well. Okay? I understood that we are doing this, and so my team's doing these things. Is that in line? Because I saw you the other day not. And again, I don't work for other people because of that, so maybe that's not a good example to use. But on the other side, that can work, or you can just let your employees know. I mean, your employees aren't stupid. I mean, who here graduated from high school? We all know what a reputation is, right? It's easy to get and it's really hard to get rid of, okay? Your employees know your executives' reputations. And if you can say, look, we're supposed to be going this way, and that's all I can do is focus on their words. And I know and we all know Bob doesn't quite get that part of it, but while we're here today, and this is personal responsibility, while we're here today, we're going to do these things. We're going to assume those words are accurate, not worry about what he's doing or she's doing, and go down this path. And that's the best. Again, we're in the wrong side of the organization, because we're both the front staff. Customer contact is the face and voice of the organization, and yet we're seen down over here instead of over here or whatever. So it's hard. But the only thing you can control is that group for that day when they're on their shift, and make sure that they understand that regardless of what Goofy Bob or Funny Susie's doing, we're going to keep the course until we hear otherwise. Maybe it's easier said than done. I don't know. Other questions? No? I only almost lost one person today to fall asleep, so that's good, and that didn't happen, but it was close. I got louder and started moving towards them, and so I appreciate it. I have a couple cards up here. You've got a handout with our information on it. Calling people is free. We're glad to take calls and dispense thoughts. As I said, I've got an opinion about most things, and I'm definitely willing to share it. So just let us know how we can help out, and otherwise, thank you so much for coming out, and have a great day.
Thank you, Dr. Locke. Good stuff. Obviously, things that we all struggle with in our own respective companies, and so hopefully, I know I took some action items for things that we can do that are better, and so thank you for that. And there was a piece of paper that had a lined thing that I had. It's a sign-in sheet. Yep. If you haven't got to sign that, would you please take because what that does is it allows us to know when you sign up online who actually got to make it here, and so that way we have a record. So if you would, make sure you sign that for us. Laura or Vicki, anything else that we need to cover before we adjourn? Again, thank you, Convergent. Thank you, Elliot. Greg, for all of the hospitality, for the food, for the opportunity to visit Mr. Locke. And thank you again for ThinkBig for this opportunity to be in this location. So look forward to seeing everybody next month. Thank you.